Elise, how are you? Thanks so much for joining me.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Now we've been talking about doing a podcast for a while, so good to finally make it happen. Um, yeah, we met in Darwin, and you kind of just hit me up randomly, and a couple of other artists, just volunteering your time, seeing if anyone needed help painting the murals, which I was greatly appreciated for. I feel like I very much underutilized you because I was kind of in a state of stress and exhaustion, so I didn't feel like I definitely could have utilized your skills more than I ended up doing. But I really appreciate that. That was such a kind, generous offer of you.
No, of course. I was the more under the impression of just like moral support. I can help you. I can like move your paints around. I was like, I'm not sure like what you want me to even do on the wall. So I'm like, that is all for you to do. But no, I really appreciate it. That was really special, I think, not knowing anyone up there and then being able to kind of see it from the outside and also be able to be a part of it was really cool.
Yeah, but kudos to you for just getting involved. Just like, I mean, that's how you do it. Like you just hit people up, get involved, and I don't know, it's very easy not to. It's very easy to be shy or whatever, but you ended up painting your own beautiful piece on I think the cafe slash bar Busted Town in Darwin of these beautiful are they manta rays, were they? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. So what were you initially doing in Darwin anyway?
Yeah, so it was a bit of I didn't realize it was going to be their situation. And it was really exciting because I haven't had that in a while where I'm like fully no plans. But what was happening was I'd been support crewing a runner, Sean Bell, who's now got the fastest time to run around Australia, which is a pretty incredible record. So I was crewing him. So I flew up into Townsville and was going across from there and decided yeah, we had a few things like with crew coming in and everything. So I was able to stop at Darwin. And that kind of meant like pretty much up until the night before, I'd assumed I was kind of going to Broome. And making that call, I was just like, I'm here now and I've got to kind of see what my options are. And so yeah, I started seeing what was around. I heard there was like a street art festival on and kind of was like, can I make this work for a couple of weeks? Like it's beautiful up here. I want to be able to see it. And yeah, that's how yeah, I bumped into you.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, yeah, a bit of kind of background about you, or maybe we can just kind of go into your origin story a bit. Like, you're an incredible artist. You're just an extremely active person. The kind of the moment I mean, we kind of met at this all artists were going out for going to a market, a night market, and I just instantly you have an infectious love for life, I guess I would say. Yeah, I could just kind of tell from the beginning, and yeah, and the more I just kind of chatted with you. You just on a very interesting and inspiring journey, and the story of just helping your running coach who is running around the entire country of Australia and beating the world record is I mean, it's very unique. It's incredible. Um, so yeah, tell us a bit about your like, I don't know, how did you get to live, carve out the life that you're living and just really shape it to work for you? This very active, very outgoing, and just getting amongst everything you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously, I think, a journey, like such a slow build in that sense. Like, I think it's something I've always wanted to be able to do these things. Like, I think that, like, even as a kid, like, I wanted to, like, be at high places or, like, climb things. Like, it's always been an interest. And it's been, like, that hard bit navigating. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't what people are usually doing, or it's not, even as a mural artist, that's quite uncommon. Or to be an adventurer, like, that's quite uncommon compared to all the things that, like, advice you get given and whatnot. And so it's been a really big and hard journey and a very conscious journey, I think, the last kind of 7 years of working out what I like to do and building kind of community around it where these things can just happen. And so I've been back in Melbourne for the last week prepping for a New Zealand trip. And I was like, oh, you know what? I've got 3 days in between. I'll come up. And so I don't have a place to stay here. I like didn't really tell anyone I was coming up. I kind of just came up. And within the last 3 days, like we've gone out climbing. I've just been
Where are you?
camping. Oh, sorry. I'm in Bright, regional
Right,
Victoria.
right. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just been a slow build of to begin with, like having those moments that like you're really scared. Like I was terrified when I saw the like art exhibition that was an opening. I was like, oh, I'd be keen to check that out. I'm like, I know no one. And so my friends dropped me off and I said, oh, I'll get a lift back when I'm ready. And I was like, walked in, I was like, oh my God, like I was so shit scared. But I just knew I'm like, if, I feel like I want to be able to meet some of the artists here. Maybe I've got like time. It'd be amazing to be able to do something. And so I kept having those moments where I'm like, this is really scary. I'm gonna like hang out with some new people I haven't before and go climbing with them. And from there, I've actually built enough of a community where I feel like it gets to be my lifestyle all the time.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, so you kind of suggested you're kind of a bit always like this. You're kind of always just really outgoing, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to make it work. Is that right?
I mean, I was a bubbly kid and like a creative kid, but when I went through an eating disorder, and I feel like that's when my whole life changed. It was like all kind of good, maybe some things were creeping up, and then when it hit, it was just like it just felt like it came out of nowhere, and it was within 1 month of showing signs that I had an eating disorder, I was hospitalized for a
Oh
month,
wow.
and yeah, and it was just a big period of like depression and anger and feeling suicidal and all this kind of like intenseness that I'm then I think the reason I've been so conscious about the way I live is because I built it from nothing. And so like in therapy, it's like, okay, like who am I? Who am I without the illness? Like what is it that I like to do? And I think I really just like if I'm gonna fight for a life that I want to live, like I want to live a life that I've like is worth that fight. And I think that's just opened me up into getting like the ball rolling of like what would it mean if I, got to be creative and do art or pursued the dreams, even if money was getting stressful or whatever it is. And I think I just never wanted to turn back.
Yeah, yeah, fair. When you're going through this incredibly difficult time, um, what do you think helped snap you out of it, or helped you kind of get the strength to make some changes or overcome?
Yeah, I don't think anything ever snapped me out of it, but there was those kind of moments that I feel like I was living in conflict for so long that I'm like, it's going to be one or the other. It's like part of me wanted to have a life. Like part of me was like, oh, when I was younger, I used to think when I got to this age, maybe one day, I'll have a family or one day I'll be whatever it is. And it's like, oh, if I stay this way, those things like this innocent little me will never get to have. Like I won't ever have that happy life or a life that I thought I would. And I just knew like if I didn't change, like nothing would. And when I was in hospital for one of the last admissions, there was a woman in her like 50s, and it just looked like nothing was ever going to change. And that actually scared me because I'm like, I don't mind if things are shit right now, but I'm like, if I'm a grandma and that's been my whole life just in hospital, like I don't think I could deal with that. Like that kind of feels like it lets a little child in me down. And kind of a little further after that, I started getting to a bit more of like the personal development programs, which they were really good at the time. They kind of just showed me what is possible. Like we did like 100 bucket list or like visualizations, which kind of sparked the curiosity to like be ambitious. And then I think from there, I've kind of let go of a bit of the um, like need to be that kind of culture around like, that kind of hustle culture or status or socials or whatever it is, and kind of just like these are the little pockets I love and I just want to be in them. So
Yeah, yeah, totally. Do you think it was? I hope you don't mind me asking, and we can totally move on if not. But what do you think was the kind of pressures that was this just kind of in like a late teen development? Was it trying to be someone you weren't? Was it societal pressures, or just the pressures of what do you need to do with your life, or what kind of what do you think led you down that path?
yeah, I really don't know. And I wish I kind of had answers because it's something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. And all I can really think of is it being a build-up of pressure, which
Hmm.
my sister, who's older, she's amazing and she's incredibly smart. Like, yeah, I love her to pieces. And I think I had that pressure to be able to perform at the level that she was. So in that year, I pushed really hard academically. And because I was succeeding, it was like, all this kind of was just like, cool, I can just keep going. I can just keep going. Like it just felt like I just kept kind of building and pushing and putting more pressure on myself. Um,
Mm,
and
mm,
then my nonna, who was an artist, passed away, and she was probably the closest person I had in my life because I knew that we were similar. Like in a world where I always felt like I was different, especially to my family, having my nonna and like growing up and painting with her and losing her was something that I didn't feel like I could process. And I've never been good with death. And I think that's like my cat died when I was in like year 5, and it literally took me 3 years. I was put on antidepressants. I had to go see a psychologist in like primary school. I just couldn't understand what it meant. I was like, Mum, I'm ready to die now because I want to be with my cat. Like, it wasn't a normal grieving process of just a pet's died. It's like I would imagine myself lying in bed at night being like, imagine that it's like the year 3000 and I'm still underground. Like, it's just, I couldn't fathom it. And so I think an accumulation of like the stress and pressure and like trying to deal with grieving and having a neurodivergent brain that I didn't know of at the time, it was just
hmm
like, as soon as I'm like, I'm gonna stop eating, or like that was my focus, couldn't get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, you say you're not good with death, but you're very good with life. I'll tell you that. And I think that's one thing that I found very inspiring about you because you're quite a bit younger than me. I'm 37. And I think it's so super common, especially that transition into adulthood and stuff. So many people I know go through incredibly difficult times and even well into adulthood and the pressures of what's expected of us, career choices. I mean, I remember having to like finish high school and then decide what university are you going to choose. And I just felt like it was a choice that I had to make that was going to dictate the rest of my life. And I had not a single clue. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how I wanted to live my life. And yeah, I think a lot of those pressures well into adulthood, who are you? Are you successful? Are you the best? Are you, I don't know, winning the award? Whatever. They do kind of on one hand, they can be great fuel for some people, but they also do kind of take us away from our inner child or inner adventurer. And I think, yeah, I just kind of felt a bit of like quite a bit of wisdom in the way you've decided to live your life and just take total control. And it's fascinating getting wisdom from someone significantly younger than you. And I think it's easy to get lost along the way, for all of us, everyone, I think, every single person. So yeah, so what did the transition into reclaiming your life, just falling absolutely in love with life and just, doing everything? I mean, like what other things that you do? I don't think we even covered that. Like, I mean, you're a rock climber, you're an endurance runner, you're is it slackline or tightrope walking, whatever. I'm not sure the actual term. I mean,
Highlining. Yeah.
yeah, I met you in Darwin. You're just like, cool, I'm going off on a yacht today, just going to learn how to, I mean, you do everything. So yeah, what was it that really enabled you to kind of reclaim your life?
Yeah, before I think going like kind of winding back, I just wanted to touch on, I feel like it's been interesting. There's been a lot of people that I've either like looked up to or thought like, because I don't have like the career path that I can be like, cool, this is my trajectory, this is where I'll be. I've obviously had to look at other people and be like, part of that is like what I really like, or part of that, or like I'm inspired by these kind of things. And so I feel like I'm always looking at like, what is my potential path because I can't see it, that kind of, I've had to look at other kind of like role models or people that I'm like, oh, maybe that's something that I want to like move into. And I feel like I've been able to learn like their lessons. Like any listen to say like on podcasts where it's someone who's like extremely successful and has a lot of money and they'll still say, I'm lonely, like I'm living in an apartment by myself, it doesn't make me happy. It's almost like you get to learn the lesson before you have to live it yourself. And I think I've just noticed that where I'm like, I still want to be successful, not in a sense of just like money, but successful in terms of like feeling like I've used my time to be able to make a difference to other people or whatever it is. But I feel like that all misses the point. I'm like, for me, what makes me feel like I'm like fulfilled and happy is those times where I'm doing what really like satisfies me. And that is like connections with people and community and like moving in a way I like to move and like I feel like so lucky that I get to live this way. Like in terms of like the benefits it has. Like I've just spent the night camping with a friend and talking about that inner child thing. But yeah, I still have like this the workload and everything as if it is kind of like normal work and everything. But we were there like making a fire and like running with the sticks into a tree to like snap it so it would break to make firewood. And we found on our bike ride this morning like a giant rope swing. And so we're just like hanging off it upside down. Like that to me, I mean, you can't spend money on that. And even if you wanted it, it's something that you can't just like have because you want it. And I think that is like the philosophy I go, I guess, in terms of measuring like success or just life metrics. Like when that starts to go and I'm working in a career that feels really not me or really misaligned, that is just like, let's turn back kind of vibe. But I think, uh, how did it kind of come about? I think, yeah, after kind of that period of like going through recovery and just a lot of like group sessions and psychology sessions, and like I reconnected with art as a way of um doing therapy. And I think I already knew I was kind of doing life differently because like I'd missed out on those years of school and I'd missed out on, I just wasn't interested in like the party scene when that was kind of like that age period. And so I was like, well, what happens if I just take a gap year and explore everything I wanted to explore that I feel like I didn't have the time to do? So I did a lot of just like experimental art and I traveled and I don't know. I just found, especially having like yeah, being neurodivergent, the amount of like clarity and flow state that I get in an activity is just like unbelievable. And I think I've been able to find I guess there's like three things that everything falls into. It's either like art, adventure, or psychology, and pretty much anything. And then I can kind of like move in between, but I'm kind of growing or spending a lot of time in those three. And I guess what I get up to is, yeah, I think if it fits in the three, I'm pretty much either keen to do it or have been doing it. Like um, with like the adventure, I'm going on a bikepacking and fast packing trip in New Zealand in the coming days, and that's been a fun way to be like, let's just explore in a different way. That's outside of running is something new. So yeah,
Have you done a bikepacking trip before, like a big one?
not a long one. No, I
No.
just done a couple around the area, so I'm really
And what?
excited
So
for
where
that.
you going to New Zealand? Whereabouts in New Zealand, and how many days? Tell us what's involved.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a 14-day trip. We're going
Oh
from
wow.
Arthur's Pass to Queenstown, and we're doing Arthur's Pass to Mount Cook on foot, and then Mount Foot to Queenstown by bike. And then we're finishing with a group of females at the end. So I'm doing this with Samantha Gash, and at the end we're going to have kind of some of the Her Trails people and some of the people that we know around like Wanaka and Queenstown finishing. And so the idea came about so long ago. I was like, as soon as I found adventure in terms of like my adventure, not necessarily like anything hardcore adventure, but like that adventure where like you allow yourself to go into the unknown and embrace what it is that you need to be able to move. I was like, I hope for other people to be able to kind of see this perspective outside of, chasing pace. Like what happens if you chase perspective and open in? Because like the being outdoors and even like with art, when you push yourself, like it just opens up your mind in so many crazy ways in terms of like things that you don't want to think about or a bit scary or like it pushes you into those places. And yeah, I had that idea. I'm like, I don't know how it's ever going to happen. I don't even know like a filmmaker. I'm not much of an adventure. Like I don't have any credibility or anything. But I'm like, I know. Like so, this year's ago, I know I want to do a short film that like is empowering, and embracing of this kind of way of living. And yeah, I met Sam. She became a run coach. We became friends, and now expedition partners. And yeah, crazy.
Fantastic. You've got some incredible role models. So we just kind of were chatting on, Instagram Messenger the other day. Because I went to the David Goggins seminar a few days ago, and you were there too, because Samantha Gash was the opening speaker, and oh, she was such an incredible opening speaker. It was just so. She was first of all a really great, amazing speaker, really inspiring, and a great way to I don't know, just open up that entire event. It was a full day event. So you were there as well. Tell us a bit about Samantha Gash and how you guys connected, or yeah,
Yeah, yeah, she's been someone that has been someone I've been wanting to meet for a long time. Like I think when I was looking in terms of because I find it because I have such a like my foot so strongly in like psychology, art, and adventure, it's really hard to find either a career or a person that you're like, cool, I can, follow what they're doing or I can like learn from them or like have that as an end goal because there is no one for me in that sense. It's just like I've always found that quite challenging, especially in terms of like career titles. It's not like I can just see myself applying for this kind of job. And so I've always kind of had my radar out on people that I find, really aligns. And Sam Gash was that, like not only her ability of the way that she has like resilience and moves her body and what she's done since like a young age of kind of like taking those actions and fully going into that unknown. But the way that she like processes it, I think is really incredible. Like the way she's able to like go on an experience, see what it's taught her, and be able to share, and then bring other people in, like the community that she's built and the people she's helped along the way is just amazing. And so I came down to one of her like fortnightly runs, and then we just like hit it off. It was just really exciting. We did the Kosciuszko 50-kilometer run this time last year together, and yeah, came started going from like coach to athlete to I started doing graphics for some of like the run events, and then I became like a run camp facilitator. So I helped run some of the camps with her trails, and now we've just become close friends. And an incredible, like I just feel like what she's been able to teach me without her realizing she's teaching me has been like so valuable.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So she's also an endurance runner. She's done a lot of incredible charity work. When I saw her speak, one of the things that stood out was she ran across India from east to west. Huge physical feats and things. You've also got some other, I mean, you kind of know, not really short of incredible role models. I'd love to kind of like loop back to the very beginning of this conversation to your, was he a running coach, Sean Bell? Can you just tell who is Sean Bell? How did you guys connect? What exactly did, tell us about the ins and outs about what he actually did and what you were involved in.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Just quickly on that is like I think what's really cool about people that have been like a bit of a mentor or role model is it just keeps fueling the belief that like your dreams are possible. And I think that is
Totally.
infectious. Like in a world where it's like, oh, like so you start an art business, like have you been making money? Like is it the same as your normal job? Like that quick, like it's like if you've just started something, of course it's gonna take time. And that can always be really tricky to not like doubt yourself. Like, oh, it has been a little while. Like maybe it won't eventuate. And then you see people like this and you're just like running around Australia. Like, I don't know if a dream could get any bigger. Like, sounds crazy kind of thing. And just to see over the years that eventuate and then be there while it was happening was another just like, it just shows you these things are possible. And I feel very grateful to witness, like, to just be around that. But yeah, Sean grew like we grew up near each other, like probably 10, 15 minutes away. Didn't go to school together or anything, but I met him once I started getting into running. He had like a first 42 program. So he was my run coach for my first marathon. And so because he lived nearby, on weekends, sometimes we'll do our long runs together with others that were doing the training program. And yeah, he was a run coach for a while, and then when I was up north, he was doing his first. He did a 200 miler, so it's like 300 and something Ks, which he
Hmm.
won the event, which is incredible. Just like the mindset he had into understanding what it was going to take was huge. And he asked if I wanted to support. So I supported him for the 55 hours that it was running. I was like, we were in the car, doing like these food, meals, getting a little bed set up when he slept for, a couple minutes, gear and everything. And that gave me a bit of an insight into what that was like. And then when he said he was embarking for his lap around Australia, which it'd been a dream for about 6 years, so I'd known about it. But he then offered a longer term crew role. And so I joined in Townsville and finished in Darwin. We went across some very remote highways. Like that was super rural, and we're only going like 84 Ks a day, which I mean it's massive to be running, but it's not massive to be moving like
Right.
that amount of time on the highway. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, each day we're doing like a pit stop. He would run 7 Ks up to us where we were in the carrot, like in the motorhome, like food,
Mm-hmm.
water, and keep going. And then I'd usually run with him like in the mornings, the first couple legs,
So with
just keep
support crew,
driving. Yeah.
you're actually kind of running with him. Or you're half time in the car, half time running, and when you're running, it's just kind of like moral support. Just keeping things, keeping him sane, or is it like keeping him hydrated? Just all of that kind of stuff.
Pretty much everything that he isn't able to do, and like kind of monitoring and overlooking the whole logistics. So oh my God, it covered everything. So we would wake up on days that it got really hot. We started doing days starting from 3:30, but otherwise it'd be kind of 4:30.
In the
Would wake
morning.
him up. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Like put his running belt on, get his shoes, high vis, and breakfast done.
Mm-hmm.
Pull, like if we were at a campsite, pull all the bits and bobs, water hose, electricity and stuff, all that, and we'll hit the road to where he spray painted the last day where it was running, and he would take off for his 7 Ks. And so, yeah, usually like I'd join for the first couple legs, but the main thing was being able to have him when he got to the vehicle that there'd be food, water, electrolytes, all that kind of jazz, ready to go, and then would just keep rolling along for like the whole day up until the night and finding somewhere to stay that night. So yeah, I really enjoyed the running with him. I think I probably did, like 400 Ks on the highway with him over the month, but the
So
main
you're with
priority
him for
wasn't like,
one month total?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
yeah. And
That's
the main priority wasn't my own running. Like it was
mm.
like I had to know that I first of all couldn't get injured. And then it was also about like, I'm here to like make sure logistics run. So if I was able to run with him, which yeah, like every day I got to in the morning, that was amazing. And then it was kind of keeping on top of yeah, food and logistics.
Yeah. Wow. So how long did it take him to run around? And it's around the entire country, or is it top to bottom?
Yeah, 14,000.
14,000 Ks. Wow. And how long did that take him?
It was, how many days was in the end? He got the record. Do you mind if I quickly
Oh, that's all
check?
right. Yeah, 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 sure, sure. I'm just curious, yeah.
I couldn't tell.
I mean, just such a phenomenal beat. And like you were saying on role models, like
158 days.
158 days. Okay, that's quite a bit. But I mean,
Yeah, it's
it really does take people to do the extraordinary for you even to comprehend that it's a possibility, or
it's so
even
cool to see it.
like I mean, no other animal can do that. Humans are pretty insane. Like, I mean, birds can fly around a country, but like, yeah, to run around an entire country is it's kind of madness. And yeah, once you're involved in that, just even witnessing that, but working with someone like that, I guess it puts your general struggles into perspective, right? Your idea of your threshold into perspective. It does actually broaden your mind in terms of what's possible. Would you agree?
Yes, and I love that so much. I think that's what it is. The most thing I like. I think what I get out of things the most isn't necessarily the logistics of like the nitty gritty or where it was or what trail it was held on. It's like just showing that those ideas you have or dreams are possible. And it's really cool to see Sean a few years ago, like in, Melbourne suburbs being like, I'm going to run around Australia. And of course, it's like, what the hell? Like, what do you think? Like, I mean, he was training for it, so it wasn't like out of the blue, but it was like, whoa. Um, Even people's reactions now, like that's absolutely crazy. And then being there and seeing the day to day and just seeing it's just slowly chipping away. It would be like he'd run 7 kilometers at a really slow, comfy pace, have some food, do it again. And it's just like, not that it's
I've lost you again, Elise. Damn. Hey.
Oh my God, I spoke for so long and I didn't realize it dropped
Oh,
out. How did
no,
you?
that's all right.
No, I don't know where I cut
Oh,
out.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it just incredibly inspiring. You're hanging out with an incredibly high caliber of achievers and doers. I mean, do you have any other role models that I'm have, not aware of that have had a huge impact on your life and your journey?
Ooh. A bunch of people. And I think like they're probably like the two main have been like the biggest influence lately, but it's just because I'm now in getting into these worlds, it's just like all around me. I've like role models or people that inspire me, like being able to like even watch short films or just like listen to TED Talks or all those like all the people that I meet with like the podcasts that I do, that it just feels infectious. I think like I've always been
Totally.
when I started committing, like after recovery, like, you know what? Like I want to be ambitious with the dreams that I already do have. I've always been scared that they're not going to eventuate or like they're too hard or people are going to shut me down, that kind of thing. And so having these kind of people around, even if they don't need to mentor me in terms of like steps to take, just having that around, it's like, it's not even a question whether it's going to happen or not. You know, it's not even
Right.
a doubt. It almost feels like it's more likely to happen than not just because of like what I'm around. And it can be so hard to feel like you're the one always heaving up the hill if you have an idea. And so I even noticed I this time last year walked like 250 Ks along the Australian Alps track solo,
Wow. Wow.
um,
Solo.
raising money for like yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I did the ultra marathon in Kosciuszko and walked back to Bright. So yeah, it was 17 days. I didn't see anyone for 10 days in the middle. And it's just interesting because when I was in Bright, there's a lot of adventurous people around here. They're like, awesome. Do you want me to help you with food drops? Do you know how to dehydrate? Cool. Have you got a PR? But then they're just like, cool, this sounds awesome. I've had it on my mind. That's what they're kind of saying. And then when I went home, they're like, you're walking solo. Like just the doubt and the fear was like, oh, what happens if you get stuck? Or what happens if a man, all that kind of negativity that had I had stayed in Melbourne and tried planning for this, I don't think I would ever do
Mm.
it.
Wow.
So
I mean,
I think that's what it's been.
17
Yeah.
days camping solo, I mean, well, like doing a big walk, like, I mean, you really have to be very conscious of what you're taking. I mean, so you mentioned there's food drops. Like, how much food and water are you carrying on you at any one time? How much planning is involved? Is there like a food drop every single day, or how does this work?
Yeah, so I did three food drops, and so I had these big barrels that had everything I need for resupply for like 4 days.
Hmm.
um or like a couple days. So like the first day I had up until my first food drop, and so I had a bit more like fresh food because that was the only time there was going to be fresh food. I learned to dehydrate my own food, and so I put all of the food that I made in little Ziploc bags in the food drop that I dropped in the track before I went to do the mission. And water wise, kind of like 3 liters or so, and then any stream that you go past, I had just like the life straw. There's like tanks
Like a
or huts.
filter?
I did one, yeah, I did one day with no water, which was really hard. On the map, it was showing that there was a stream. That stream was dry, and then I climbed from the bottom up to the top of Mount Bogong. I think it was like the Long T Spur or something. And even when I got there, the guys that were there like that was such a hard, long day, and I was like, oh shit, I had no water. Other than that,
Wow.
I was fine for food and water, but it was cool because it was like I've done, day hikes, I've done small overnight ones, but this is the whole like this is very new territory. Like I've never done anything this long and it just feels all unknown. Like I can't visualize it and be like, yeah, I've covered everything. Like I learned how to use like an inReach, which is where when you have no signal, you can like communicate. I learned how to do the food drops that we're talking about and put a bit of a project together where it was like raising some money for mental health. And that learning though has set me up for this New Zealand trip, which is the same thing. I'm like, bikepacking feels really new. Finding routes that are overseas that I don't know what the tracks are like are really new. And it's given me that the ability of learning those skills that I can kind of take it into any project. But yeah, it was really scary.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet it was. So, you mentioned before you've got a real interest in psychology. What what does your mind go through when you're going 17 days by yourself? Physical feat. I'm sure you're exhausted. I'm sure there's moments where you're very worried, probably very scared. I'm sure you get all the different weather conditions. What did you learn about your own mind throughout that experience?
Oh, so much. So much. It was really cool. I think it showed me a lot in terms of I knew it was an experience I wouldn't have for a long time again, and it was almost like a weird feeling I've never had before because I've never obviously done that before, but it was like everything felt so far removed. Like the idea of society and people and like that we've built buildings and that we've built structures just sounded so foreign because it was just me and the bush and nothing out there that everything that we've created by man or everything that we perceive as social norms or whatever it is, like we've built that ourselves, like we've created ourselves. And it just felt like so far away. And it was just like me and nature. And I obviously still do get scared. And so I think I was like, oh, heck, like what happens if an animal tries to get me? Or what happens if whatever it is, like it's not easy being solo for this kind of time. And so I kind of feel like I made a pact with nature where I was like, I'm not gonna like harm you, you're not gonna harm me. I don't know, it just felt like there was this mutual trust that when I walked on the track, it's like we've got each other. And that kind of was a cool journey to just find a level of trust I've never had before. Like you can't calculate anything that's going to happen. You can't predict what's going to happen. Like I got hit in a hailstorm at the top of one of the hills where it was like golf ball hail hitting my head. So I was just on the track, just like curled in, getting bruised up. And a moment then that I'm like, because it was a really bad storm. Like lightning was hitting really close by, and I kind of had a moment where I'm like, I might have to, I might have to pull my thing. Like this could be the
Mm,
moment that obviously not going to get struck by lightning, but if it were to happen, I had a moment where I came to terms on like this actually might be it. And I think when you take yourself into a mind, and what I love about adventure so much is like you can't really be climbing on the edge of a cliff and not think about death or not think
right,
about
right.
life in that kind of way. And so I think that hike was really cool of just not only like appreciating life and like thinking, what do I even think about it, but also um I don't know. It then makes you reflect on everything. There isn't that you're not in the day to day and you're not in the week to week. So you're not like, cool, that's what I got for next week. That's what I'm thinking for next month. It's just like you're so far removed. You're like, what does it mean to be alive? And like the big zoomed out stuff. And that I think was the most powerful like thinking I got to have.
God, incredible, incredible. Just yeah, just I was just gonna say I would just love to do something like that. But the thing is, some of us do and some of us don't, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we really do choose our own life. Like we really do make the own we we do have complete agency of our own life. We've got complete ownership of our own life. And I think so many of us forget that. Like maybe even the majority of us forget how much agency over our own life we really do have. I mean, I know I definitely fall short of seizing the day on regularly, and it's just I guess we get what we accept. We get what we put up with. You know, there's different degrees of responsibilities, and the choices we make lead us to different ways. But yeah, I don't know. It's really incredibly inspiring to hear this kind of stuff, and does just make me want to rethink some of the ways I spend my spare time because God, I mean, the things you'd see, the views you would see on a 17-day hike, there's just places that you can't get to unless you walk for a few days, and all around the world, all around the country. What have you learned about your relationship with nature and using nature as a teacher? Do you have any thoughts on like, nature as almost like a spiritual guide or a spiritual teacher in your life?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't really call myself a spiritual person in terms of anything like quite religious on it, but the connection I have with nature is probably what even saved me. It was just like it felt like all these conversations felt really superficial and all these like whatever it just felt so superficial and so
Mm,
like just pulling my hair out. And there's just something that when I go out in nature that it feels like I've connected to, I don't know, something higher, something divine, whatever it is. Like it's so powerful, it's crazy. And I think it's just been, I mean, it's such a incredible teacher of everything about in terms of all lessons around like, I mean, everything. Like, I think if you're like, you're pushing too hard or whatever, like nature will teach you like cycles and balance and all of that. But it's just also how like immersive and present you get to be when you're in it. Like I feel like it's even like a higher level than meditation in a way. Like this morning, yesterday we were swimming in the river and Shay and I who went camping with, we just like held rocks and sunk to the bottom and just like held our breath. And it was like it's such a visceral thing. It's a cold flowing water, but you're there just like with no thoughts, just stillness. And it's like not very often in a busy world that you get to have those like moments where you're like on the side of a cliff hanging off and it's just like fully flow state, zen, whatever it is. Like those kind of feelings I have around nature is why I spend so much time in it. But it's always felt like nature teaches from such like a pure intention. It's not this person like, oh, if you give me this money, I'll give you this insight, or if you like trade this, you'll get this status. It's like it feels all like washy in terms of like how far removed it is from what's actually helpful. And it's just like you go back to here and you go back to the source. So that's what it's
totally.
been for me. Yeah.
Wonderful.
How do
What
you feel
about,
about nature?
oh, I mean, so, it's funny. I've actually, I mean, obviously I just love nature so much. But it's funny lately, I'm currently working on work for an exhibition and, I love my art practice. I love painting and I love being able to um, try and capture my perspective of the natural world. But I also have found lately that spending so much time in the studio takes up so much time, and I end up spending nowhere near as much time in nature as I would like. So I've got a little rule for myself with my more with my oil paintings, less so with my murals because sometimes there's briefs that come with murals and there's things, but with my own canvas works and things, I try very hard to only ever paint things that I've been to. So which is great. So part of that I've made going to the natural work an essential part of the art practice. But yeah, it is a difficult balance I find between getting very caught up in being in the studio life and spending a lot of my time in a cube, in a box, in a room. When I would love to be exploring and adventuring a little bit more. So yeah, I definitely don't spend anywhere near enough time in nature, but I think my best memories are I've done lots of trips around the world and I've had extraordinary, wonderful times, but I think the best ones have been when I've done extended period times, exploring national parks and just yeah, spending a lot of time under the stars and yeah, so love it. Big, it's beautiful. I want to spend more time. I want to do more. So yeah, but again, goes back to what I was saying before. We make our choices, um, but maybe we also don't have to be beholden to the previous models that we've held on to. I think life is about constantly readjusting, um, reassessing what our priorities. So that actually is a priority of mine moving kind of after this exhibition, I think. So yeah. I was curious also, pain as a teacher. I'm sure you go through a lot of physical pain when you're pushing your body to its limits. I'm sure you go through mental struggles and emotional struggles when you're on something like a 17-day hike and you're getting pummeled with golf ball sized hail. Do you have any thoughts as on pain as a teacher?
I think pain is a teacher, but I don't know how I feel about it because I think. from my eating disorder, it's taught me a lot about like doing things with the right intention and what can be a case in like the ultra world, and like nothing against like this is all everyone's like moving their own in their own way, but it is almost like what I've noticed is in the ultra world or people like these kind of things that have a lot of pain is it's been fueled by like insecurity or wanting to be valued or seeking something, or like even a lot of people get into running because they're going through a heartbreak, and that to me doesn't feel like the healthiest way to go about it. And for me, I've tried to see it as like what is the healthy way for me to go into it. Can you
Mm.
still hear me?
Yep, yep, I can.
I just can't see you. That's fine.
Oh.
And so it's been a journey of trying to heal myself so that I'm not doing things out of pain in that sense. I'm like, the reason I did that hike was not because it's like I'm so mad and I'm not worthy enough and I need to be seen and I need the status, or it's not that I'm mad and I feel like I just need to like keep pushing. It's like if I'm feeling that way, I need to actually probably stop and reflect and do that hard work. And so I feel like a lot of the things that I do now, yes, there is pain involved, and it's usually that what causes like the euphoria I feel like after, like that kind of like running
Mm.
high or like heaving up a big mountain, but then you see a view. But yeah, there is pain. Like I'm usually pretty battered, like I've fallen off my bike, I'm scratched up, but it's always seems to be coming from a place of like, because I want to experience more, I want to feel more, I want to like be moving rather than I'm doing it because of something that's just like I'm chasing something. And I think that's the same with travel. I feel like I'm always moving towards something, not away from it. And it isn't always the case for everyone. So I don't always see it as like it's a good thing. Like if someone's doing something really, really big or hard, I always like to question, like, is it that they're coming from a good intention? If so, I'll absolutely support it. If not, I'll almost feel like I want to support them in finding something that makes them happy and like so they don't need to put themselves into that pain if they don't need to, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That makes total
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. So what what do you want it to do with your like actually how do you make this lifestyle work? Like how do you, what's your work life balance? Yeah, your work life balance. Do you find it's difficult to kind of maintain a career? I mean, in this with the lifestyle that you've chosen?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's because part of me doesn't want a career in terms of I really want to build and bring my experiences that I have and what I learn into what it is that I do. And
Mm.
so, yes, it's been so hard, even like thinking about it. It's like, no, I don't want to apply for that job. It's like, or anything that's like, oh my God, yes, stability. It's like, but no, but that's not what it is that feels right. And so it's been incredibly hard. And it's been interesting because I think I was actually just talking to someone yesterday, like, I don't ever want to come across as say someone who's not working hard, but say when I was working at a cafe, I wasn't doing quite the same as full-time hours because I was spending a lot of time doing like my own projects or spending time on like my own ideas. And it just didn't feel balanced when I was working that many hours. And I also didn't want it to come across as not hardworking, but it was like it just wasn't where I was wanting to spend my time. And like the mural that I just did like 16 days in a row, morning to night, like pretty much like 10-hour days by myself. No one was even checking if I was working, but I was just like, cool, like I'm on, I'm keen. It's like invested. And so it's been a hard journey, just like navigating how much time can I spend. I obviously want enough that it's consistent and financial, but not so much that I don't then have the ability to do the things that now give me money. And so, or work or whatever it is. And so a lot of like the adventure stuff, obviously never going to get paid for that. That's all just like my own journey. But because I'm like, no, 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 this is a priority. It's now allowed me to be working amongst brands or working on projects or be supported by brands to then allow me to keep doing those things. And that's the same with art rather than being like, cool, because I studied art when I studied psychology. And rather than it being like a straight streamline, like I was like, I don't know, I wanted to do it my own way, but now I get to do murals and art projects. And so things have been lining up, knowing that a few years ago, this is what I would have hoped to be the case. Like there was an end goal. I wasn't just like, la-di-da, I'll see where I end up. Like I am very driven and clear with like those kind of like goals and how that's going to happen. It just kind of needs to like visualize into my world to know what it looks like.
Mm.
But it's just been the balance between, yeah, casual work that goes on and some larger projects in between. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Do you have much of a kind of a vision for the future for yourself? Like, do you know what you want to do, how you want to live, and how all these kind of moving parts that you've been spending this period of your life moving forward into a good, sustainable, rich life?
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like it's funny because I can't really necessarily like tell you, but it's like I don't feel like I'm just like floating through. Like
No, I don't think
everything
you
feels
are
like
either.
lining,
Mm.
everything feels like it's lining up in the way that they're all coming together. Like I think career-wise, I want to be able to have art, adventure, and psychology become the one thing. And can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Good, you're just a bit frozen. Yeah, I feel like I really want to be able to take the lessons I learned, or like, like the benefits or what I've learned from both art and adventure and be able to use the psychology to help make an impact, whether it be through like understanding the science of color or understanding the science of nature to be able to help inspire other people to feel like awe or understand that kind of thing. Like I really want to be in like the innovative side of things, whether it be through more speaking or through more kind of like, yeah, innovative spaces. But it's funny because say like when I got into adventure, I'm like, I know there's something here. Like it does sound like maybe I'm just like having some fun and hiking around, but I'm like, I really feel something and I really feel something that I want to have like a bit of an impact with. And then a few months ago, the crew from Zirali flew down to make a short film on my story and like connection to nature. And just being able to like premiere that and show it around at schools is something I'm like, I've always felt that. Like for the last few years, I'm like, I've had a calling to want to share the more vulnerable kind of side of the adventure that I get up to, or at least the places that my mind goes to, and kind of like following that curiosity and just crazily like they emailed and reached out and then they flew down and they shot it and created a film. And that's something that I could, 2 years ago, have never been able to vocalize and say like,
Mm.
hey, I'm working towards this or I want to do this, but it's like a feeling I always felt I knew. And so it's like that's the same what I feel with my future. It's like these things that I'm like I'm consciously building towards, can't say what it is, but looking back, it's that. And so yeah, I still see like in terms of like the near future, like a lot of mural work and creative projects and being able to bring more women like into the trails and been running run camps. So all that kind of stuff is like that for now as like work and career, and then also trying to find a way to, yeah, bring it together.
Yeah. I mean, I really do, not to sound too bloody hippy dippy, but I really do believe when you're kind of on the right path, the universe does really just guide you through. I don't think you really, I mean, of course we all need to make some, planning and difficult decisions to make the things you want to make happen and get the life happening. But I think um, the way that you're choosing to live and making time for only the things I think there's a real currency in that, and I think that it people are people can tell authenticity, and they can tell when they meet an inspired individual. I think that's so much why there's such a you know people love art and music and getting finding inspired people who aren't just treading water and just going through life and going through the motions. I think it is very infectious. I think people do value that very highly. They do want to hear from those kinds of people. So yeah, I think your priorities are in perfect order, and keep achieving, keep striving to do incredible feats, and you already have role models that are living the similar lives that you want, and they've made it work. So it is possible. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Not that I think you are, but yeah. Um, what kind of advice would you give for people who are kind of treading water, or you know, people, we all have responsibilities, and it's not everyone's doing what they thought they would want to do, or spending their off time how they would want to spend. What advice would you give people, kind of in terms of maybe overcoming laziness or overcoming just those mental barriers that we have that make us think it's not for us or it's too difficult? How do we get
Yeah, I
inspired?
think well, a thought I kind of had on that is like it's interesting though where motivation comes from. And I think like the reason I am so motivated is because I've kind of found the thing that I'm actually like really motivated by and can kind of just like be in it. In terms of say like when I work at a cafe, I find that really hard to be motivated. I find it hard to get up. I find it like I'm not wanting like I find that it's not a level of like laziness that you have, but it's more about how in tune you are or how excited you are about the thing that you're doing. And sometimes it's more about changing the thing that you're doing or spending your time rather than it being anything on you or laziness. Like I find
Mm.
um yeah, I would be the exact same as like it's only because I'm so fueled and excited about that the things I'm spending the time in that I have this kind of drive. It doesn't equate to everything like cooking and stuff. If I'm like not wanting to do it, I'm like far out, like it becomes like a chore and it's hard and I don't want to do it. Like I mean, there's obviously ways around it. You can't get away with not doing anything, but it's just like I think we're so harsh on ourselves to feel like, oh, we're like lazy or like wasting time. But I don't always think, I think when you have like a fire in your belly or you've found something that really excites you, like it just, it comes with that kind of that motivation or like wanting to take action. And so, yeah, I feel like we shouldn't be so, and that's the same with like self-control. I feel like it's so easy to be like, oh my God, I've just eaten so much, or I've just like, these spirals that we put so much on ourselves. Like a lot of it is even say like the biggest side of things of like marketing and advertising, like we've just been sucked into it. Like no wonder it's so hard to get off your phone. Like they're doing everything against you to be on it. It's not you being weak. It's like there are so many forces stealing your attention. Like we've got to be stop being so hard on ourselves. And I think
Totally, totally.
when yeah, like
Mm.
it's not like you're a lazy person. It's like maybe there's something that is like it's just not fueling you or like whatever it is. I really don't think we need to be so harsh on ourselves. But for
Yeah, I
me, I
mean,
was always just
no, sorry, you go.
reassessing. Oh, sorry, I was just like really um, reassessing like what it was that would get me. I kind of lost the words for it, but I spent a lot of time like reassessing what it was that would like make me want to be doing something and like things that got me inspired or got me excited or things that just changed my I think, and that's I think what's time out in nature is like change my perspective on a lot of things that it's helped me work out how I want to live and like that being time is precious and I don't know, it just feels quite conscious.
Yeah,
What are
it
your
is about conscious decision making, isn't it? And I think you raised a really great point. Like I think we are all so well, not all, but so many of us are completely addicted to our phones, but they literally are designed, with psychological traps in mind to keep us addicted. They are addictive devices. There is a lot of very intelligent people in, offices and doing psychological experiments to figure out what keeps our attention, how many seconds, timing our eye, how long we're actually looking at this thing. So we all crave dopamine. We all crave that kick that gets us excited, and yeah, there are things that trick us and hijack that dopamine flow. And I guess it's about being conscious. Exactly what you're saying about making conscious decisions, not automatic unconscious decisions. Because yeah, I've wasted a lot of time on my phone for you don't even know you're doing it. So
crazy?
yeah, it's totally crazy. We haven't even really spoken about your art, but yeah, that mural you did recently was incredibly beautiful. So yeah, massive congrats. Tell us a little bit about your art practice and yeah, how long have you been doing it, and what's your kind of what's your happy place with your art practice?
Yeah, good questions. So art has always been a bit of like a language for me. It's kind of how I understand and process the world. Like I think when I was going through therapy, like talk therapy was good and all, but it was like, oh, we're just having a conversation. And I think like I did my psychologist told me about art therapy and I was like, I just hit the ball running. Like it was I moved school so I could go to an alternative school and do studio arts. And it was a lot of like clay work and sculpture work and quite dark, really dark work. I just went through like, I think my year 12 folio was like, I did like at least 4 folios just full of like things that I trialed and experimented with. I obviously had no pressure to make money at this point and no pressure to have a style. And so I was like, cool, I'm just going to see how it turns out with a lot of things, which I think gave me a lot of like, I didn't lose the joy for it too early on to be like, cool, there's something I can like explore in. Same with adventure. I think it's just like having that curiosity. And yeah, went on to study psychology and majored in art. And so I think that kind of kept my eyes open to having art as something that like I really wanted to still do. And then got into a few different things in terms of like I did markets and like smaller pieces on the side. I have kind of two sides of the art. One's more like graphic, so like murals, shirt designs for events, like digital work, kind of like the nice colors and plants. And then I have the more, I guess, kind of like exhibition work or more like full creative work that isn't things that like to sell, even though I've done them as commissions, which I actually did some book carvings that went to like a hotel casino in Colorado, which was a random and huge commission. But
Right.
that's kind of just stayed in like my own kind of practice, which I carve like landscapes through books, and that's been
Oh, I haven't
um
seen those.
Oh, I have
Fantastic.
to show it.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Like it was funny having that commission where I'm just like, well, this feels like I'm an actual artist or something. But years before, I'd go to a cafe and just carve through these, and I'd get so I don't know what people must have been thinking that I'm like destroying a book or something. But um, yeah, there's that side of things where it's a lot more conceptual. It's like, how can I think of this in a very conceptual side of it? And I haven't found I'm still finding the balance between being able to bring the more conceptual, thought-provoking ideas into something that, usually lands in a commercial space or, a particular brief or whatever it is. But yeah, I've been really enjoying like murals, graphics, been doing that for the last kind of like 4 years, more like frequently.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, got a couple
That,
kind of like it's been hard trying to find. I haven't been like, cool, I'm a mural artist, and so I can just do this. It's been like a lot of like dipping in, trying this, like seeing where I fit because yeah, I feel that push and pull between like, do I go commercial, make a lot like get myself really stable, or do I stick with the creative flow and what's like creatively coming through me? It's like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
tricky.
totally. That constant battle. But
Yeah.
that's what your young years are for. Try everything and then, slowly, slowly refine. But those ceramics you were doing were incredible as well with those landscapes painted on them. Loved them. Really, really beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great,
Thanks.
great stuff. Um, oh yeah, finally we'll wrap up soon, but I was wondering, where is your favorite natural landscape? What is just what in terms of nature, what really does it for you? Where's your happy place?
Oh, so many places. I think for
Hmm.
me, like rivers and the valleys and mountains are like really restorative and for just like how green and lush and secluded it feels. Like it just feels super rejuvenating. Like the flow of like the sound of the water and just how like untouched it is kind of like where I go to recharge. But my favorite area like spot is Mount Feather Top. That was where I did like my first solo overnight hike and have had so many amazing experiences with groups of friends and conversations that I've had and moments. And it's just this beautiful ridge, like it's called Razorback. And it's just like this narrow, like you're on the top and it just like drops on either side. And you just got the paintings that would have been on the pots. It's just these like dark blues that go lighter and lighter and just fade into nothing. And it's like, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, incredible. A lot of that up in the high country, isn't there? Yeah, just infinite
Yeah.
mountains just fading off into
Yeah.
a
And just
gradient.
layers and layers and layers.
Yeah, incredible. And finally, what do you think is the meaning of life, Elise?
I've been thinking about that for too long. Oh man, just a quick final note just
Yeah, just
before
to
we go.
throw away. Why are
Man,
we here? Why are we on Earth? Why are we awake?
I don't know. I don't know, but I do feel like we are connected to everything and everything bigger. Like I don't think yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like any meaning of life is to do with just us humans. Like this is my thing or my like I'm here because of this in, like structure that we've made or whatever. But I'm not gonna go all big and like the whole meaning of life, but I just think there's we all have kind of come in with a bit of a purpose, whether it be like we're impacting someone in a way we don't know or a way that like we don't even realize, like beyond what we can even capably think of, is why we're here. But I think that, yeah, even though I don't know the meaning of life or like that we don't, or we can't even comprehend it, I think it's for us to be able to experience in as much richness as we want. Like I do really feel like we can manifest or like our energy is energy in the world, which influences everything. Like we have so much power. And I think it's up to us what adventure we want to choose. Like nature's providing it all. Like it's all there of whatever you want. Like you can think of any job, activity, whatever, like you can make it happen. Like it is out there, it does exist. And I think it's up to us to be able to like make what we want of it.
Beautiful. And just actually one more. What we did touch on this before, but what do you think, what is success? What does success mean to you? If you get to the end of your life, what do you think, how would you have measured a successful life or a life that was just a life very well lived?
I think it is a life with a lot of actual time spent in what makes me happy, like a lot of actual time spent in my passions, time spent with people that I really connect with. I think like deep connections, like a feeling a deep connection
Hmm.
to like life or spiritual, whatever it is, deep connections with people, actually having the time being in the thing, like rather than saying you wanted to do it, but like actually being like, I'm enjoying like the flow state, the experience, the nature, whatever it is of the thing. And then I think being able to have an impact bigger than yourself, like the feeling of leaving a legacy or the feeling of being able to impact like a community or something larger than just being like, oh, cool, I got to go off in the bush and stay there for my life and then come back. Like the feeling of like I've been able to give or impact. I think that is like what I'd measure it by.
Yeah, fantastic. Elise, thank you so much for joining me. I find you an incredibly inspiring individual. It's yeah, wonderful to see. And you have so many incredible years ahead of you. I think you've already laid the groundwork that so many of us find very difficult to prioritize certain things and train ourselves and train our minds to really what's the word, train our minds to really properly understand how we want to spend time, what we want to do. And yeah, I feel like you've done that at a very young age, and I feel like there are very, very great things ahead for you. And can't wait to see your development with everything you do, but your art practice and everything. And yeah, I have to stay in touch for sure. So thanks for hitting me up in Darwin.
Thanks for letting me paint with you.
Of course, even if it was very brief. What's the best way for people to find you or check out your art? Or I didn't even mention you have your own podcast, Explore Your Core. Um, so yeah, please definitely get onto that and yeah, tell us how can people find you or support you?
Yeah, I guess socials is Explore Your Core, which is
Mhm.
my art page that kind of has some like the writing I do, murals, and art. And then I've just got my personal account, which is like Elise Marcianti, but I'm usually just adventuring around somewhere. Um, Building a website, so that's in the progress. And yeah, Explore Your Core is a podcast which you mentioned.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, and thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and have a wonderful day. Thanks. See ya.
Yeah.
Done.